So, hi everybody. Good morning. Welcome on this Tuesday morning here in Portland, Oregon. It's nice and cool outside, and I'm so excited to be here today to talk with you and share my experience this earlier in the week. So, I got to go and see Temple Grandin live at Portland State University. When was it? This Saturday. It was amazing, right? So I've never seen Temple speak live. I've seen recordings, I've read books, I've done all the things to know about her. And I got to tell you that the crowd was so excited. I mean, there were several of us in line that were kind of joking, like, "Am I fangirling too hard?" I saw Temple Grandin get out of her car in front, and I didn't know what to say. It's like, yeah, yeah. So all of us were there. We're very excited. It was a wide collection of people, lots of educators, lots of families and advocates, and lots of autistic people who were there with loads of questions for the Q&A session at the end. And I think there is where I learned the most, just to listen and be present and hear Temple's answers to all sorts of questions about empathy, questions about time, questions about how do I sell my taxidermy, right? All kinds of things. So, and I also have to tell you, there was a book table, and I'm a sucker for book table. And I was one of the first people to get in there. Of course I was. And Temple was there helping set up the all the books and stacking them up, right? And I asked her, first of all, I said, "Thank you for having us here tonight. And I'm curious, which book of all the books on the table that she has written, which book is your favorite, or do you think is the most important?" And she paused a minute and she pointed to this one. So, visual thinking, the hidden gifts of people who think in pictures, patterns, and abstractions. So, I put that one in my hand. Then she went on to say, I asked her, I said, "But what do you think about for educators? Because I'm here as an educator, support and consultant and trainer. What would she recommend?" And she recommended this one, Autism and Education, the Way I See It, What Parents and Teachers Need to Know. So I haven't cracked this one open yet because I'm working on this one, which was another favorite of hers. Animals Make Us Human. So yeah, I think this is going to make some people in our audience really excited. It's so good. And I'm only on page like 25, but I'm already having deep conversations with my husband over dinner about emotions that animals feel and primary emotions, and how does that relate to the children that we work with and us as individuals. What is our enriched environment? What does that look like? Is it real? Is it not real? Anyway, I can really like go down a deep hole on that one. So the last one she recommended was this one. So in coaching families or coaching teachers, she recommended this one. It's called A Loving Push, a guide to successfully prepare spectrum kids for adulthood. So I thought this was really interesting. Because I have some friends with a new diagnosis of their child, and they're not sure what to do. And so she recommended this one for families who have a child with a new diagnosis, and they're figuring out about advocacy and how to prepare that child for adulthood, because it will most likely come, right? So yeah, that's my stack. Oh, and the last one was this one. And this is the one, she didn't have it there for sale, but I had it already. So I took it with me, and so good. If you're looking for a book for your classroom, it's I Am Temple Grandin, Brian Meltzer, illustrated by Christopher Elopoulos. So hope I'm saying that right. And she signed all of them because of the geek that I am. Interesting. She asked me, who do you want me to make this out to? And I said, "Well, my name's Amy." And she looked at me and she said, "Amy, spelled the regular way, Amy." And I said, "Yes." And she wrote, "To Amy." And as she was writing, she was saying, "To Amy, spelled the regular way." And then she opened the next book, "To Amy, spelled the regular way." To Amy. And I thought that was fascinating. She wanted to get it, spelled correctly, which I thought was really thoughtful and considerate. Okay, so what you guys are here for is not a bunch of book recommendations, although I've got a lot of reading to do. I'm going to do that. Today is a reading and studying and learning day for me. So I'm going to be on my couch reading those today. But some of the things, my points of that I just keep thinking about was her again and again speaking about the importance of letting children be as natural as they can be, right? To be in a place where they are following what they're interested in with as few barriers as possible. And it made me think of how we as educators try our best to see what is the obstacle for this child. Is it a physical obstacle? Do we need to move shelves or move materials? Is it a social obstacle? Do we need to teach grace and courtesies and how to ask a friend to play? Is it emotional obstacles? Is it cognitive obstacles? What are those that we see and can figure out with our deep curiosity and our tenacious ability to be creative and observe objectively to see what it is that we see, right? And then try something, make an adjustment. And if the child is ready, collaborate with them. What would work for you? What if we tried this? I wonder what would happen if let's have you sit by me. Or would you like to sit here or here? Or would you like to hold you that friend's hand or stand next to your friend? Something like that, offering choices and, collaborating is, super important. Um, so that was something that stuck with me. And also, kind of related to that was the importance of going back to real things in their hands, allowing and encouraging children to tinker with objects, with things, with situations, to practice, right? Offering that side coaching when we see that they're struggling, right? What do you say? What can you say? What can you do? Let's try it, right? So that stuck with me too, like the importance of children needing real things and real tools that really work, and the freedom and space to tinker and to mess around with things and see what works. And as she described how her brain works, and I might be speaking to the choir because you may know this story, but she speaks about how she thinks in pictures. And she talked about how algebra, she failed miserably, just didn't get it, right? Because the abstraction of it. But if she could draw or write down the pictures that she had in her head um, for a certain environment for animals or a certain project to do, right? If she sees it in her mind, she can put it down on paper and leave the building of it to what she said to other autistics who can make that happen. They can look at her pictures and go, yeah, I can make that. And then they make it, right? So she was saying, I'm not necessarily the maker, but I could see it and I could see how it works. I can observe and see animals. And I was thinking, as a teacher, we could see and observe our children and watch their behavior, watch and figure out where is the struggle, and then make an environment that's enriching and that serves the child where they are in that moment, right? Offer ride the edge of ease and difficulty, right? So they're continually growing and growing and growing. And that, I think, is where the art of us as educators showing up really shines, right? Observing and then preparing the environment for the child to really soar, right? So let's see. I was thinking about that. She talked about the importance of children needing to use real tools. And yeah, I was standing in the back side because that's where my brain learns, is standing, where I could be moving side to side, rubbing my hands, because I'm a kinesthetic learner. Y'all might know that about me. I have to be in motion. That's my best way to learn, and usually in back right. Yeah. So there I was, standing. And when she mentioned that about children needing real tools and real things that really work, don't give a fake plastic blunt knife if you want them to cut something, right? So yeah, so I was in the back like, yes, yes, yes. Right. So that was just stuck with me. And another thing, I've got my notes here, like my hot points I wanted to share. One was that she believed that children, all children, especially autistic children, she said, needed jobs outside the home by the age of 11 or 12. And I thought, okay, say more, right? And of course, she had already talked about how every autistic individual is an individual and unique, right? So, what are they really interested in, and what can they do that is real in the real world? Right. So she gave an example of a child who might be really interested in dogs. So do they have the skills? Teach them the skills how to be a dog sitter, to be the person in the house who takes care and who feeds the dogs and who brushes their hair. Maybe they have a job where they pet sit their neighbor's dog or take dogs for a walk. Or can they go somewhere? And this is where I'm just starting to go. Can they go somewhere to volunteer or even alongside you and draw pictures of animals, maybe at the Humane Society or at their neighbor's house, right? So you can blend their interest of dogs and maybe an interest in drawing or art to create an experience where they feel like, yes, this is deeply satisfying, right? So I thought that was cool. Jobs outside the home by the age of 11 or 12. It's like, yes, yes, please. Okay. She also, as she was speaking about that, she dove deeply into teaching basic skills like shopping. Like, speaking to the audience, she said, how old were you when you first went shopping by yourself? When you went to the grocery store to pick up bread or to do this or to get lettuce or whatever. So that kind of stuck with me too, like how as a society we've grown protective in a way that doesn't allow children to do those things independently, right? So as your child is ready, we create an environment where they could be successful. Do they know how to get from the car inside Safeway, the grocery store? Do they know how to get from your house down the block to the 7-Eleven to pick up a Slurpee on their own? Do they know, have you practiced about money? How much money will you need? Have you rehearsed how to do that? And then let them do that, right? Of course, we keep safety in mind, and we also want to integrate some struggle and a little bit of struggle with preparation, right? So they know what to anticipate. They've practiced, they've rehearsed, and now they're going to try it on their own. So those basic skills like going shopping or returning a book to the library, right? What are the things that we could do to step aside and allow the child to do on their own and practice that independence as early as possible, right? So that, of course, that is right up my alley. Right. Let's see, she also had another example of that for hosting your family's parties. So if your family is having some people over, maybe the child is the person who takes their coats or takes their pocketbooks and says, I'll put them in this, the main room right here. Or taking trays around of snacks or something like that, so that they could be the hosts of the parents' party or the family's party. Thought that was interesting. It reminded me of my own childhood and what I was expected to do as a child, which was exactly that. You get everybody's coat and you put them in our room. Right. Okay. So let's see. Something else that came to mind that made me think, and I want to think about this some more. She was talking about sensory issues and sensory experiences, environments that we can create for autistic children. And she said something that was different than what I thought I knew. So I'm going to be diving deeper into this in other ways. And definitely, if you have something to say, to share, and what you've learned about this, please tell me, because I was like, oh, what? Okay, so what I thought I knew was the importance of, for young children, especially in the work that we create for children on the shelves, that they work on independently, of course, that it's important to isolate one sense at a time, right? So the say the material that shows the child, or the child experiences temperature, like warm to cold, is specific to the sense of touch, right? Or the smelling jars, which isolates the sense, the olfactory sense, right? Maybe bells or music isolates or really concentrates on the auditory sense, right? So, but she said something different. She said it's important to stimulate two senses at a time, not just one. I thought, again, there was me in the back thinking to myself, okay, say more. I want to learn. Tell me more. And she mentioned how important it was for integration, right? For example, offering a cold glass of water with some sort of smell, like the smell of lemon, or the smell of watermelon, right? So there's a dual experience across two different sensory inputs. Um, so that was cool to me. And I want to do some more research. And people, y'all here, what do you think about that? Have you heard about that, read about that? The importance of blending two senses at a time, um, in in blending two senses at a time, so that you get at more sensory integration success. What do you think about that? Any thoughts? Anyway, I called that one a way homer because that's the one that I'm going to be thinking about on the way home. So that's one that I'm thinking about. It is difficult, to create experiences and work that isolates just one sense, because we're fully sensory beings, right? So we do have this sense of our eyes when we are working with the smelling jars, right? So we see the container and we lift it. We're using our proprioceptive skills to lift it to our nose, and then our olfactory sense to smell and determine, is this lavender? Is this cinnamon? Is this lemon? Right? So that is true. So I'm curious. If anybody has any thoughts on that, please reach out to me. If you're watching the recording, reach out to me, because I'll be taking a deep dive into that over the next little bit. Okay. So let's see what else. Uh, Oh, yes. She had an image that I've got to Google image search and find, that illustrated pretty clearly the processing and the slow processing of an autistic person when they're watching, say, a movie. So they did some research and they tracked the eye movements between, as a person was watching a movie clip of two people talking and then a waiter in the background, right? And someone who is neurotypical, their eye tracking motion was all, back and forth between the two people up to the waiter. So it was a lot of this, right? And for in this particular research and in this particular image, the autistic person typically went from side to side to side, right? And during that time, she was talking about how it's important to remember that that they may be processing our words more, or the situation more slowly, right? So they're figuring it out, but at a pace that's different than we might expect. So that was kind of cool to me. Let's see. The last thing that she kind of wrapped up with, that left me feeling super inspired, was a quote from Stephen Hawking. And she said that Stephen Hawking said, concentrate on the thing that your disability doesn't prevent you from doing. I'm going to say that again. Concentrate on the thing that your disability doesn't prevent you from doing. So that's playing into strengths, right? Playing into interests. So what in your classroom, what are your children interested in? And can you can you concentrate on that as a first and second and third and regrouping connection with that child? Are they interested in bugs? Say bugs, maybe a particular kind of bug, right? What kinds of experiences can you create for that child to experience through all of their senses, their heightened interest in bugs, right? Do we offer the opportunity to dive deep and learn and share with other people what they're really interested in, concentrating on that as a tool to move to other things? That's what I'm thinking about. Not sure what I think about it. Wondering how that could look in the classroom. And I know all of us, we have our library card in heavy use, right? So we know how to get, okay, I have a child who is interested in Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I'm going to get all the books at the library about T-Rex and bring them into my classroom. Why do why do we stop there? And most of us don't, because I know y'all. I know you're at home making language cards about T-Rexes, or you're making parts of the animal, a T-Rex head, T-Rex arms, T-Rex legs, T-Rex tail, right? I know you're doing that. Um, how can we connect, maybe say if a child is, I'm going to stick with T-Rexes. Maybe if their struggle or what they're working on is their social skills and friendship building, maybe you've got a dinosaur on the snack table where 2 or 3 children sit. Maybe you find plates that have dinosaurs on them, right? Or maybe you have photographs or images on a wall right next to the conversation bench so they can practice talking about their dinosaur or talking about the art on the wall with another friend, practicing those social skills, right? So that was just kind of a thought for me. Concentrate on the thing that your disability doesn't prevent you from doing. A great beginning connection and bridge. So let's see. I think that's most of my stuff. I feel like I'm fangirling again right here, but lots of things to think about. Challenges to what I thought I knew, and I realized, I need to learn more, and I want to learn more. Very interesting to see her connection with the audience, and her answers to some of the questions were really powerful and funny. Made the audience laugh. I don't know if that was the intention, but clever turns of phrases were plentiful. All right. So that's about what I wanted to talk about. So I'd love to open it up to any of you, Emily or Lisa. But if you have anything that you'd like to, if you have a question, because I'm here to ask Amy anything. So what's your question? And I'll see what I can do. And it doesn't have to be about Temple Grandin or her talk. It could be about anything. This is our open coffee hour. Any questions or thoughts as I know you're heading into the new year, or maybe you've just started. I know some parts of the country, my niece has been in class for a couple of weeks now. So I reached out to say, good luck on your first day. She said, that was a week ago. And I'm like, oh, great. I missed it. Yeah. Any questions or thoughts that you want to share? Okay, well, that's cool. Here's what I'd love to tell you that is coming up. So, I do these Ask Amy Anythings once a month. And next month, I will have a special guest. I'm very, very excited about that. It's my brother Bob, who is a lifelong educator. He works in higher education for most of his career. Brilliant in my eyes. And we disagree on a lot of things. So we thought, wouldn't it be fun to do Ask Amy Anything live with you? And he was like, okay, I'm down for that. He didn't say I'm down for that, but wouldn't it be interesting to hear a perspective from someone who has been a career-long educator of children and young adults? right? So a recent conversation I had with him was, what would you love that early childhood educators would know about and teach into? And what skills are you seeing in older teenagers and young adults? What skills do you see are really lagging? And he went right into a list of things that I won't, that's a spoiler, so I'm not going to tell you, but he had some ideas and some thoughts that I can't wait to talk about. So that'll be in our September edition. Of course, I'll put out the date and the link for that as well. So we're going to be talking about that, right? All right. So let's see. Unless there's any other questions, we'll bring this to a close. I'm so glad that you came. Happy to see people here in the crowd, in the group, in the audience. Okay. So until next time, everybody, know that I'm here to figure out what support looks like from me, and happy to step into that role as you need. I'm booking professional development pretty fast and furious right now. So if you want to get a live or a virtual something for your team or for yourself, let me know for sure. I'm pulling up right now a couple classes that I've got going on, that I've got coming up. Hold on. It's hard to click and talk at the same time. Yes. So I have a class that's coming up in September. Hold on. Old school. Yes, I have a paper calendar. Don't judge me. Okay, so I'm going to scooch over here to. Okay. So I developed a class based on what I kept hearing from educators and families for quite a while. And I decided, okay, Amy, I think it's time. Let's create this class. And it's about debunking myths around gentle parenting. Like what are we trying to get really right as a gentle parent, as a gentle educator, and what are we misunderstanding about that philosophy? So yeah, it's called Gentle Parenting Done Right, GP Mythbusters. And we'll talk about what, with our best intentions, what we tend to skew and miss the mark on, right? Yes, we want to be gentle, and our children need us to be clear and kind and respectful and firm leaders, right? So, gentle parenting is not doormat parenting, right? Gentle teaching is not doormat teaching, right? So how do we show up as leaders for children as they're growing and learning in a way that is kind and respectful, right? So what are we missing the mark on? What are the myths that we think about and act on around gentle parenting? And this particular class is for educators, how to coach families about this, right? Because what I'm hearing mostly is that educators are growing increasingly frustrated with their family communities, and they don't want to be frustrated with their family community because they love them, right? That we do. And what do we do when we see them struggling, showing up as that important adult for their child, and what we can do to make sure that what's happening at home is happening at school, so that child has consistency and knows that the adults in their life are clear and kind and respectful. And sometimes that means, no, this isn't available, right? Sometimes it means sitting with a really uncomfortable emotion or a response. How do we show up as leaders that for our children that are effective, right? So a chunk of this class is about common myths, and a chunk of it is how do we coach families around that in a way that's effective and also kind and clear, right? So that's coming up on September 22nd. It's an evening class here on the Pacific Coast. So it's 6 to 8. I'll be creating a recording for that. So if you want to get the recording afterwards, you just let me know. But the way to register right now is directly through me. And in the next week or so, I'll have it on my website to register there. So certainly bring your team or bring yourself. It isn't a class for families. I'll have a version of that for families. I've got that in my in my arsenal in my box. But that's not this class. That's the 22nd of September. So if you want that as a family education event, let me know. Happy to do it. All right. So let's see. Is there anything else that's happening that I want to let you know about? That class for sure. Yeah. So as we're getting gearing up and getting into the new year, you might need a couple extra classes to either uh, fulfill those licensing needs because licensing is going to come in a few weeks and you're short a few hours. I've got on-demand classes that you can grab from my website. And there might be a topic that you find, oh, I'm struggling, or oh, my new teacher is struggling in this area. So we've got those available for you to purchase and use and participate in and learn at your own time and at your own pace. So you can find that on my website at amywilliamsacademy.com under register. You can find that there. All right. So until next time, everybody, have a beautiful day. Stay warm, stay cool wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye.